you secretly were moving money in the background.
Wait, and this is something that I would be doing?
It kind of said that SBF put like a secret backdoor so that he was moving funds to Alameda and it was undetected. Like this was something that you put into place potentially. I mean, that's how it read.
Well, that's interesting. So that I can tell you is definitely not true. I don't even know how to code. Is the honest, embarrassing answer. I certainly wasn't like building some backdoor in the system. I could barely use the system. That's not true. I knew this system pretty well from a user interface perspective. I literally never have opened the code for any of FTX. So I certainly didn't build a backdoor in there, and I don't know exactly what they're referring to. It's like, let me try and give you the nearest neighbor to that. The like thing that is true that like most resembles that statement, which is that there was a fuck up, which is there was, I don't know if it's what that's referring to, but like I was wrong, I was incorrect on Alameda's balances on FTX by a fairly large number, an embarrassingly large one, and it was because of a like very poorly labeled accounting thing, which was a historical artifact of a time before when like from before FTX had bank accounts. And the result of that was basically there was a time way back yonder when people would wire money to Alameda and then ask to be credited on FTX. That just basically never got screwed up. And that was like a pretty big miss, and meant that Alameda was like substantially more levered than I thought it was. I don't know if that's what that comment's talking about, but that's the best thing the sort of closest thing I can think of for it. It's possible that it went through a number of games of telephone before ending up like that. I don't know. There are a few problems. One of which was, again, the position's bigger than I thought it was. That wasn't good. Second of all, was that, and this is fucking embarrassing that I got wrong. Like, given my background, I should not have been the one to get this wrong. I think FTC was basically more legit than most tokens in some ways. Like, I think its value is more economically underpinned than the average, than the average token was. That being said,
why do you feel that way?
Wrong. Because like the buy and burn and shit. Like, it's not just like a token that like does nothing. Like at least it does something, and like there is some like effectively cash flow that goes to it, and like there is a utility for it, and like I don't know, like you can use your judgment on how much you think that's worth.
Yeah.
But like you compare that to like token number 17 on CoinMarketCap. I don't know what token number 17 is, but I suspect it's just a lot less than FTT did. That being said, so I kind of feel like it did have real value. I mean, trade hundreds of millions of dollars a day, had, real market cap. And while it was like, I don't know, Alameda held a lot of it, it didn't hold all of it. Like, half of it was just totally free floating.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I don't know, like, you could reasonably, quibble over a factor of 2 on its, like, real liquidity, but not like a factor of, like, 30 or something. Like, we're talking a matter of, like, I don't know, should have been X or like 1.23 times X or something. The bigger problem and the things that I like what actually happened there was not quite that FTC was illiquid. Like, if you look at what happened between, a month ago, FTT's market cap was $8 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Today, FTT's market cap is $500 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What happened between then and now is not that a surprisingly small amount of sales of FTT totally crashed the price. Like, illiquidity wasn't what caused that crash. What caused the crash was something else, which is very embarrassing that I underestimated, which is the massive correlation of things during extreme market moves, especially when they're triggered by fear over the position itself and the massive size that those moves can be. And we've seen that again and again and again in finance, where, I mean, long-term capital, similar thing, where, like, you have a bunch of positions which are correlated by virtue of all being held by the same entity. And in this specific scenario where you have a crisis of confidence in that entity combined with a run on the bank and a total lack of liquidity and credit, where the crash can be extremely correlated between all those assets, extremely large and extremely fast.
Yeah.
And that's what we saw. Like, we saw over a